Hey, everybody. The suspect in the incident, of two Minnesota lawmakers has been captured and charged. However, these charges are very, very strange for somebody who would commit an act like this. So, let's go back to the beginning here. This man, this No Kings protester here, ended up dressing up as a police officer, driving to a lawmaker's house, ended the lawmaker and her husband, went to another house, got both of that lawmaker and her husband, or vice versa. Maybe it was, the lawmaker was a man. I can't remember. Hoffman. And those two survive. However, this man was dressed as a police officer, knocking on doors, making them come out, and then committing his action. That's pretty straightforward what he was doing, right? What would you guys call that? Would you say that that's premeditated? Yeah, I think you all know where I'm going with this. Anyway, law enforcement in Minnesota have arrested the man wanted in the attack early Saturday morning that ended one state lawmaker and left another wounded. Vance Bolter, 57, was apprehended on Sunday night after what Brooklyn Park Police Chief Mark Bruley called the largest manhunt in state history. Bruley said at a Sunday night press conference that officers had been searching the area for Bolter's property near the town of Green Isle when one thought they saw him running into the woods after about an hour and a half. With the help of multiple SWAT teams and state patrol helicopter, authorities closed in on him and were able to call him out to us. Where he was ultimately taken into custody was in a field, Bruley said, adding that Bolter was armed at the time. Why be armed at the time if... That's weird. I would have either done one of two things. If I were going to be armed at the time, I would have either fired back at police or I would have tossed away the firearm completely. I wouldn't risk wanting to get, ripped apart if I wasn't willing to get ripped apart. Bolter was the subject of a days-long manhunt involving hundreds of local, state, and federal law enforcement after the shocking ending of Democratic State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband. Officials say the couple were ended in their Brooklyn Park, Minnesota home by a man impersonating a police officer. It's very clear. Very, very clear. Okay? Just to get to the meat of it, this is the 4th Judicial District. The complainant submits the complainant submits this complaint to the court and states that there is probable cause to believe defendant committed the following offenses. Count 1, second degree with intent not premeditated. Okay? And then for the other people that he went after, second degree with intent not premeditated. How is this anything other than premeditated? It's not even possible. Now, they're doing 40 years for both. If convicted for the maximum, he would get 80 years, which in his case would be life, right? That's not necessarily the issue, though, because charges typically go down, especially when a plea deal happens. So I imagine that this guy is probably going to take a plea deal, and he's probably going to get some sort of manslaughter or third degree. I don't think there is third degree, is there, for this charge? I'm not entirely sure about that. I think there's third degree. But this is as light of a sentence as you could get for something of this caliber of a crime. This is wild to me. Absolutely wild. What is going on here? It seems that Tim Walz probably still has a soft spot for the man he appointed into his cabinet. That is absolutely wild. Wild. So, minimum sentence is 3 years for both of these. That's kind of wild. What if he ended up getting the minimum sentence? Get 6 years for going door to door and taking people out? What kind of message would that send to people? What kind of message would that send to No Kings protesters if that happens? That's something to keep in mind, guys. What is this for? Just to go on a little further here, earlier that same morning, Democratic State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette were blanked in their home in nearby Champlin, Minnesota. In a statement shared with Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar on Sunday night, Yvette said John is enduring many surgeries right now and is closer every hour to being out of the woods. He took 9. She took 8. Yeah, they're both incredibly lucky to be alive. Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension Superintendent Drew Evans told reporters on Sunday that Bolter had been charged with Hortman's ending as well as blanking of the Hoffmans. He said the FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office are reviewing whether to bring additional federal charges. Bolter was booked into... anyway, we get that. So, what is going on? This is absolutely wild. Now, it says a backdrop of political violence. The blanks in Minnesota are part of a string of high-profile political violence across the country in many years. In April, for example, a man allegedly set fire to Josh Shapiro's home, faces charges including, that charge. So, all those charges. Last year, Brennan Center of Justice, a policy think tank, released a report saying nearly half the state lawmakers it surveyed had experienced threats or attacks in recent years. You know, where are these all coming from, of course? Well, it's one political aisle, one political side. And they still think they're justified in this. What's wild to me is they're still wanting to deny that this man is a Democrat. It is unbelievable. He has a couple of fake registrations in Oklahoma, a place this man has never lived as a Republican. That's kind of wild, isn't it? And then the other states, Minnesota and Wisconsin, he doesn't have to put his political affiliation at all, so he didn't. That's interesting, isn't it? But in Oklahoma, he's registered like 6 times here. And as a Republican, for what reason? Literally, for what reason? It doesn't make any sense. And that's all the left is, well, he registered as a Republican. Therefore, he is fully, just has to be completely, right? Not the fact that he was a Democrat working for Tim Walz. Actually taking action? No, he's just got a piece of paper that says that he's a Republican. Forget his actions, guys. Forget the fact that he has no King's protester, no King's, not protester, posters in his car. Let's not forget the fact that this happened directly after these two voted in favor of Trump and policies of Trump. Right after, hours after this happens. Yeah, no, it's just all coincidence. It's just all coincidence. Let's go look at his fake registrations. They weren't even verified by any source. That's how insane the left is. They would rather believe probably an AI-generated image, more than likely. More than likely. Even if it's not. When was he ever in Oklahoma? When did he ever vote? Because none of that shows, nothing shows when he voted, how he voted, where he voted. There's no info on that. All we have is that he was working as a Democrat appointee under Tim Walz in Minnesota. Maybe he had registered when he was 16. Maybe he came all the way to Oklahoma when he was a child. You know, not 16, I guess, 18. Registered to vote at 18. But that doesn't explain. What's weird is it doesn't explain the amount of, registrations. I haven't even registered that much. I've registered twice. I had to re-register because I went from independent to Republican last year. So, those are the only 2 times. This guy has Republican. Why? That doesn't make any sense. But I don't actually care. He can register however he wants. When your actions are that of a Democrat, when you're working as a Democrat, underneath a Democrat governor, and then you go after 2 people who, quote-unquote, betrayed the Democrat Party? Yeah. There's not a leg to stand on for this at all. There's not a leg to stand on for the argument that he was in any way, shape, or form right-wing. Absolutely nothing connects him to MAGA or anything along those lines. It is yet again another extremist left-winger with so much stupid evidence that he was an extremist left-winger. But the left is desperate. They will do anything to deflect, deny, and then flip it back on the people who have found their evidence, you know? It's sad. It's sad the way the left has become. It's genuinely a disgrace. These people are so broken. They seriously need to be put in mental institutions, for real. They are incapable of living out in society like normal people. They just can't. They can't keep their hands to themselves. They get violent. If they don't get their way, the way they treat other people is absolutely inhumane. We cannot allow people who are mistreating other people to be out and about in society. We just can't allow that. We need to bring back some serious mental institutions and get rid of these people from the public, put them where they can be safe and taken care of well. We need to have good mental institutions. Sucks how we had let our, well, we were in the era of pseudoscience as well, you know, and seriously crazy experimentation, which is just ridiculous. You know, we never should have allowed our mental institutions to be places of experiments. Ever. Ever. No, we just need to have these people, like, literally, like, calm down, sitting in a home, give them some video games. If they go too crazy, they go into a padded room. When they act normal, you know what? They can live their little socialist lifestyle. They'll be subsidized. They'll have their snacks and their food and their video games. And they can just hang out there and not be a nuisance to the people actually putting in work into society. That's what I think needs to happen. And I'm not just saying, like, you know, left-wing people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying these mentally ill people that are part of the left wing. They join the left wing because the left wing allows this. See, there are upper echelons of the left wing who are clearly not mentally ill, just bad people in general, who are kind of like, well, I want to win by any means necessary, so let's let the crazy people out. And the crazy people, obviously, if you treat crazy people really, really good, give them what they want, they'll tend to just do what you say. Like, it doesn't take much to get these people to a point of obedience. However, you show these people just a little bit of, you know, just a little bit that they don't agree with you. I think these Democrats are kind of finding out a little bit, too. Anyway, guys, what do you think? Please let me know in the comment section below. Please like, subscribe, and share. Please definitely do whatever you can to this video to interact with it, and I'll be interacting back with you guys for sure, and I will see you guys here in the next one. Later.